Hey y'all, you're listening to Sunshine State Showcase. My name is Ashley Feller, and I am so happy to be back this week. I've got a great show ahead for you. This was recorded on 420 weekend and Easter weekend at the Florida Americana Music Festival at the Florida Sand Music Ranch in Brooksville, Florida, with the ain'tsisters. They've got a new album out. It's called Atomic. And if you love hearing the backstories of how songs are formed and the artist's journey, then I think you're going to love this one. I want to say again, thank you so much to Ari and Barb for being on the show. Thank you to the Florida Americana Music Festival for having us. And I hope you all enjoy the interview. So without further ado, sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. So we are here at the Florida Americana Music Festival with Barb and Ari from the ain'tsisters, and we are here to talk about the festival and their latest premiering album known as Atomic. Y'all, I have listened to this album 3 times.
Awesome.
And I'm not just saying this, I'm blown away, no pun intended. And I think one of the things I loved about it so much was not only were the songs stellar, where I loved how it was reminiscent of an old school concept album in that in between the tracks, there seems to be, for lack of a better word, vignettes of audio. And I spent much of my listening experience concentrating on those every bit as the songs. I thought they were a very interesting touch. When I first looked at the track listing, I was amazed by the number of tracks on the album. And then when I checked the runtime, it was essentially an hour and 27 minutes long. I understand you guys started this album or started writing the songs in the wake of COVID. Is that right?
Some of them.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it was just, for the most part, they were already written, and then we started putting it together when everything shut down. Like,
Gotcha.
We were like, oh, okay, we might as well start working on an album. That was back when John Cowan of Copious Jones was our drummer, so we started like scratch tracking stuff over at his house and just trying to put it together. So I don't know that.
I feel like maybe one song came after.
Yeah. When did you write American Dream? That was before.
That was during. It was in that.
You changed the lyrics during the BLM stuff.
That's right. That's right.
So it had been around for a couple of years already.
Right.
So I'm just trying to think of like what actually. Yeah, I don't know that any of it, because Shake Your Taint's like 10 years old. You know, like just stuff. It was just like a bunch of backlogged tunes.
Yeah, shit's been weird for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think we've been writing a lot. I mean, there's at least one tune on this record that's 23 years old.
Yeah, it was my first favorite of her songs, James.
When we first started playing, and it's gone through. I would love to do at some point some sort of progression, like find old versions of that song and shit, because that went from like, a folk song to whatever it is now.
I was talking to Richie last night, and he specifically suggested I should ask you about that song. That is the one that has the pipe organ on it, correct? Could you tell me about? He said it's nothing you'd ever expect when you hear the lineage of that song.
So my dad's name is James, my brother's name is James, my grandpa is James, and I popped up in the middle of the night when I was about 21, and I had this song just stumble out of me. It's like one of those things where I grabbed back when you had the little mini recorders, and I picked it up and I sang what I was hearing in my head, and then I went back to sleep, and in the morning I listened to it, and it was very mumbly and jarbled, and so I tried to like decipher what I had said, and it was kind of like I really had to translate it, and I got it down, and I have this song, and I'm like, man, this is not about any of the Jameses that I know. I don't know what this song is. And that was if I was 21, 22, that was in like 2001. And then I guess it was maybe like 8 years later or something. The guy who shot up the Aurora movie theater dressed as the Joker was named James.
Whoa.
And like if you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's like, where are you going with the smile on your face? Put the gun down, James. And I mean, it's just like, it's strange, which is where like the kind of, so it was like that Joker concept is where I was like, okay, I want this Gotham City vibe to this song. So it had never had that before. So then when we sat down to work on it, I was like, I really want it to go into this like organ ending. And then all the stuff that Danny J from Tire Fire and Vision Crystal and Light the Wire and all the other bands, she did the string section for that, and I was like, I want it to feel very intense, like, you know, like a movie, like something is about to happen that's very dramatic. And so, you know, I give her a lot of credit for giving that song the life that I was looking for. And then Damien Capcala on the keys at the end there.
Yeah, Justin Davis.
Justin Davis, yeah.
Big bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Both
between
bass.
Justin and Richie do this thing with the bass and the drums that feels like a heart racing, and it all came out exactly the way that I had envisioned it, but it would have never done that if all of those people hadn't contributed their ideas. So
Yeah, and I mean, initially, like, that whole first verse was that that groove, like, all of it used to just be that groove, and then we creeped it out somewhere along the way.
I think I sent you guys a little voice memo. I was like, what if it's like creepy at the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
And we work our way up to that big explosion, and that has been the song that has evolved the most. And I mean, it's taken 23 years to finally put it on a record as a finished product, and I'm super stoked about the way that it came out.
I loved it. I was driving those canopy roads, driving down here to Central Florida, and I listened to it, and I was like, gosh, what is this about? And like, it's just so haunting, and I love the pipe organ like keys. It was just so cool. And there was another song that he said I should ask y'all about. I wrote it down.
C'est la vie.
It was that, and I also was trying to sort of figure out the vignette that's before.
Yeah, so that is audio of Isabella Donor. That's the ballad of Isabella Donor, and that song came about through I had eaten some extracurricular thingies, and then I was at the lake with you and my sister and her boyfriend at the time, and there were a few other folks, but he started talking about this terrible story of this woman who tried to commit suicide, and her dog, I guess, maybe started like trying to revive her and wound up like messing up half of her face, like eating off half of her face when she's out, but she didn't die.
Oh.
And I was tripping when I heard that, and I was like, that's tragic. That poor dog, you know, suicide's a bitch. But it's such a shared experience, so it's like, you know, that first verse is from the dog's point of view, and then the next verse is, you know, her daughter came and found her, so it's from her daughter's point of view. And then I read into the story, and it turns out that she's the first partial facial transplant in human history.
Really?
And yeah, and like I said, it was a trip, and so I had the first and second verse, and then I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I've got the dog's perspective, I've got the daughter's perspective, and then the third verse is the organ donor was a suicide. And so Isabella Donor was talking about at one point, like, it was, you know, just like she felt like a kindred spirit with her new face. And so in that audio clip, there was another one that I had found where she was talking about trying to light a cigarette and like that it kept falling out of her mouth. Anyways, it's gruesome stuff. But that third verse is from the organ donor's perspective. And then the last verse is finally from what I would imagine Isabella's perspective is, looking in the mirror and, you know, just having to exist, eating pills to keep herself alive, keep the face from, you know, it's just like all this just really dark stuff, but it's such a shared thing, because I feel like with suicide, if you haven't thought about it yourself or even tried it, you know somebody that has, or you've lost somebody due to that. And you know, I think with consciousness and everything that we experience as humans, that's always something that's like, you know, we didn't choose to be here, but we can choose when we go. And you know, I personally I'm gonna leave it up to something else. You know, but I get it too. And so it's just, I wish I could kind of take that from people. I have a lot of folks that have leaned on me for support over time. And yeah, it gets a little scary sometimes. And so on the one hand, I want to be supportive and I want to give them, the notion that they're not alone. And then, sometimes.
Wow. So
Oh,
a giant hawk just came and landed
Wow.
Why
in
don't
the
I have
tree.
the camera facing that way?
jeez.
I mean, there is a very large, was that a red-shouldered hawk? He's about 10 feet from us. That's crazy.
That's
So for folks listening, if you're wondering what we're looking at in awe,
Nuts.
there's an amazing hawk right there.
That's unusual,
it-
to say the least. Wow.
so yeah, I guess that means something.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah, but just that we just lost a swamp fox a couple weeks ago, and it's a bitch, man. It's crazy that sort of thing happens, and people think they're alone and feel alone, and that, but it's such a shared experience. Whether, like I said, if you've thought about it or tried it, or somebody that has, and so you're not as alone as you think, even if somebody doesn't pick up the phone when you want them to or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, that song haunted me for quite some time, and it's just mainly that the suicide, it affects everyone. So,
Absolutely
yeah.
true.
Yeah, so
I'm going to go in a slightly different direction just out of pure curiosity because I'm listening to this. And I always, of course, there's a lot of originality in your music, but we all listen to things growing up that influence us in our playing. And I was just taking a wild guess. Did either of you ever listen to much of Danzig?
that actually is hilarious, because I remember cutting that track and it, oh mother, what, I was totally Danzig right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Danzig.
Well, that's funny. I'm glad I asked that
Yeah.
question because when I was driving, I was like, I wonder if they listened to
Yeah.
Danzig at some point in their
Yep.
lives.
Yep. I'm glad.
Because I
It's-
like Danzig.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, very cool. Awesome. And I think one of my most favorite tunes on the whole thing is Bug. Is that actually about a bug or is it a metaphor?
So it's both. So that's born of I was teaching summer camp in it's like right at the Tennessee-Georgia border, North Carolina, Georgia, I don't know, up there in the in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and they had this cabin, that the girls' cabin at the top of the hill, and it's basically made out of pallets. So like anytime anybody would flip over in their bed, that's the whole thing's just like. And I was in the upstairs in this bed, and I had this lamp on, and I'm a night owl, and doesn't matter if I'm having 14-hour days at camp. It's like I just stay up. I can't really help it, so I'm up. And I'm experimenting and trying to make a thing in 5/4. And I'm like watching these bugs over the lamp, and it's like this spider, and there's a moth, and there's one of the big palmetto bugs, which is like absolutely one of my most feared things up until yesterday with this cricket. Anyways, I got a thing with bugs, and sometimes I do okay, and sometimes I'm terrified. But yeah, I was just watching it. It was like Animal Planet, like, and I'm like writing this thing in 5, and then I don't know if Shel Silverstein came into my brain or whatever, but I just like wrote that, and it's kind of like live and let live, and also I will fucking kill you, and also like it could be about God and us. And so it's just like that but matter of factly, I heard about a spider going into my grandma's friend's ear and laying eggs, and so like that's crazy, and so it was haunting me as well. So yeah, that was a scary time, but the spider kept like jumping and trying to get the moth. Anyways, it was summer campy too, so it's like I got to get up and like you know, all the kids are like, "Oh, we had such a nice time falling asleep to your guitar playing," and I'm just up there like creeping myself out, you know. So it was a silly one though, but yeah, a lot of people seem to like that one. Valerie taught at summer camp with me, and she loves that tune. So she had a hand in some kind of lyrical change. There was some, I can't remember exactly, but she helped me a little bit on that. Yeah.
I really liked it. I mean, I liked all the songs, of course, but there's always like a few that you find yourself going back to, like, oh, that one again, and that was one of them.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I liked the time signature too. That's cool.
Yeah.
And was it Atomic that's in B flat?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like all over the place with the horns. What was the production process like for that? I'm just trying to visualize this whole thing and how much time it must have taken and the people and
so Daniel Waitanis, he plays with Ghost Note and Blair Crimmins sometimes, and he's just all around badass in Atlanta. And Boudreaux's like, we gotta get Danny on there, and so we sent him a few of the tracks, and we were just like, do your thing. And you know, he's multi-instrumental fellow, so he just put trombone, I think trumpet, and a CP70, some kind of synth, on Shake Your Taint. But yeah, all the horns that you hear on that album are all him just ripping, you know. He's amazing. So.
I thought it was so cool. I was like, we're having like ska Danzig going on.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I was actually reading over the press release, or it might have been the other document that had some information, and it said that y'all actually trademarked the phrase "shake your taint." What were the events of? So it came from dancing in the Waffle House, and what led up to, or something like that, right? Waffle House dancing.
Where did the Shake Your Taint come from?
Yeah, and
so,
how did the trademarking come about?
Well, the actual song started. We were our buddy Daniel Hearn was going to school at Georgia State, and he had access to the production, to the studio there, the music studio there, and wanted to get us in there to record a couple of tracks, and we were just sound checking. I think that's where that came from. Like all of a sudden you started singing that.
Yeah.
Was it around before that?
Well, I feel like it got sparked by like Holland telling that story about the taint. I can't remember what I latched onto that word in some way. I think it was probably because Holland was telling that story of her first day at a tattoo parlor. Somebody wanted to get their taint pierced, and
that's a thing?
Wow. Allegedly. And so it was her first day, and they were like, yeah, you're doing that. And she quit shortly after. But anyways, it was just, I've found a lot of humor in it, and so kind of latched onto that. And yeah, I actually just got the trademark like back the other day, which is hilarious. Like we have government paperwork. Why did we do that? Was it?
Yes. It was because we had some issues with pirating.
Like fake merch, or
some folks who were within our circle who were utilizing some of our branding without permission.
Gotcha.
Kind of right in our faces and offering it up for sale where we could see it, and then like trying to give us like a few bucks about it, and we're like, that's like, merch is a huge part. Like
the biggest.
Yeah. Yes. Being in a band, a successful band, is like 90% selling t-shirts.
Yep.
And so like having somebody pirate some of your imagery is problematic, and you have nothing to stand on if you don't have some sort of paperwork. So luckily Ari's cousin is in I guess what is it? Intellectual property law or something, and so we sent her over some emails and saying, hey, can we get some government documents that say that we own Ain't Sisters and also Shake Your Taint. And so we just we got that back. We have actual official government documents that say we own that phrase, which is awesome.
I think that's so cool because you've got to protect your branding, like you were saying, but the phrase itself,
so silly.
Cease and
it's great.
desist, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. It was quite silly, but it was also, I think, brought back up because we met Stormy Daniels,
Wow.
and yeah, she was hanging out in Alabama, next at the venue, like next to the venue that we were playing, and
We were playing St. Stephen's, which is in this old school that they've converted into multiple venues, and the next wall over was Father Nathan Monk with Stormy Daniels. I don't know what
They're
they were
doing a
doing.
comedy show, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting around, and Boudreaux and I are like, we're gonna go find Stormy.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring her a Shake Your tank top.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, we found her and gave her a tank top and like got a picture. She wasn't holding the damn thing up, but we got a picture with Stormy. We gave her a tank top. And then apropos of absolutely nothing, because we didn't exchange information, we didn't even tell her our names, but she found Boudreaux and I on Facebook Messenger and was like, hey, I love this tank top. Can I wear it on my show that I'm making? And we were like, you better. So it hasn't come out yet. And I don't know, you know, it'll either happen or it won't, but somewhere out there, Stormy Daniels has our
Badass.
shirt. May put it on her, what was it, like a Hulu or
Yeah.
some show that she's putting on.
Yeah, and Richie being the businessman that he is, he's like, by God, do we have this thing trademarked? Like, let's go. And I was like, yeah. It's at least in the works. So yeah,
That's a cool story. I love that.
it's so
We're actually
silly.
going back and playing that place again next weekend. We're playing St. Stephen's in Huntsville, which is a cool place. And the guy that runs that, he's just a really cool guy. He's down at Swanee all the time, Evan. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a fun show.
Yeah.
I was also reading in the notes somewhere that you became a video editor, Ari, and I was watching because I'm a video editor too.
Yeah.
And I was watching. The way I consumed your album the first couple of times was I actually put it on my big TV.
Nice.
And when you do that, the videos come up in the display.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I saw like different images. And did you create those short vignette videos, or I'm curious where they came from?
Well, so like the heart attack video and I think Gringo are the only two that we've done so far.
Full length.
Yeah, full length. And so it was really just, and I'm not sure if the vignettes that you're talking about,
Little smokos.
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the one with the dog with the joint. Yeah, so that was just like on apparently that gets you like more plays if you've got that on
Worked
your
on
track,
me.
right? So I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do for the smokos? Well, we can do the life of a joint, and so like I just did that for the smokos, and then Barb was talking about doing the tour dates on the actual tracks. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. As far as the video editing stuff, it was kind of just like Boudreaux got the newest iPhone that's got like 4K and stuff like that, and he's like, okay, we can just go to the beach and film the video for Heart Attack. So we went and filmed it, and then I edited that together, and me and him found all the clips of like our friends who've passed away and stuff, and so then like we did that together, and it just not really something. I'm not very tech savvy, so it's not something that I ever would have expected to get like busy with, but it's pretty addictive, like when especially making a music video, like that's kind of like really cool. And so the Gringo is the next one that Gringo Teresa is the next one that I did, and that was just basically just grabbing clips and putting them together in some kind of way. And we didn't really have a shot of the band doing it, but I'm thinking if we have maybe from the album release or something like that, if we've got some good camera, like I can cut some of that stuff in and make another one. But I would very much like to have a video for every track on the album. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking about doing some of that. We've worked on American Dream some, and we've got a few more shots to get. And then Birds, we've got another concept, and C'est La Vie, I've got a pretty good concept for that one. So
Yeah, I'm pretty solid on what I want for James.
yeah, right. So there's like we've got storyboards and things, and we just got to fill in the blanks at this point. So
I love that kind of creative process thing. Bands like Rush used to make like full DVDs of all their like video collection.
Yeah.
And if y'all were to do something like that, You know, I think we're going into a movement where people are starting to want physical media again.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard from the youngins that like what they do is if they finish a book, the e-version, they buy the hardback one as a reward for finishing the e-book.
That's cool.
So I think there's a place for physical media still.
Yeah.
And it would just be cool. I would buy that. Like if y'all did create all these videos and put on like a Blu-ray or a DVD or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have it. I mean, even just on YouTube, if we had, you know, the playlist or whatever, and yeah, being able to put together something like that, and like really with the CDs and stuff, like I loved pulling the book out of the CD and reading the lyrics and like, you know, all that stuff. And yeah, it's available digitally, and it's just another thing to look at on your phone. But I agree with you. It's not totally a thing of the past to be able to look at liner notes, artwork.
And that's why, you know, one of the reasons why we're putting this album out on vinyl, the vinyls will be out soon, is that people do like to have that physical copy of something. And it's especially a vinyl, that's, you know, it's such like a sensory experience to pull out your vinyl and, you know, go through the liner notes and everything. It's just, I think especially for a certain generation, it's very nostalgic, and for the younger kids, it's kind of like this cool new thing. And I do feel like it's coming back around again. People are back into vinyl, and then they've got all the cool variations now. Like we're doing a super splatter version, which it's pricier, but it's just a cool looking,
like different colors.
Yeah,
I've seen those.
It's really it's really cool. I'm excited to see the finished product when we get that back. And we put a lot of thought into the artwork, and our buddy Amanda Gardner did a ton of work to get all of that put together, and Ari did a ton of work organizing that, and you know, it's definitely a labor of love, and I think that people will enjoy that. And then we're also thinking about doing some additional content, maybe doing a book that goes along with it that's got lyrics and photos and maybe some like basic cowboy chords of how to play some of the songs and stuff like that. That would be sized like the record, so you can put it on the shelf next to the record and have that.
They'd have the whole play set.
Right.
Speaking of, that kind of leads in perfectly to my next question is about the availability of the various forms that your album is in. Folks can obviously stream it online right now, and the vinyl will be out when?
Within a month and a half, we should have that back.
Like that.
Yeah.
And CDs, are they available here at the festival?
Yeah, we've got
they're here.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's all available. Right now, the vinyl is available for pre-order, and the CD is available on our website, ain'tsisters.com. You have to click on the vinyl, I think, to get to the CDs, just because that's where all the different formats are listed. And in the meantime, it's great if you just want to like put the album on Spotify on repeat, even when you're asleep. Just turn it down. It's good for us.
I tell my friends to do that
just
too.
play it.
Do
Just play it all the time. It's because it's silly. Like, you know, I would personally rather people listen all the way through on solid media, but it's the era that we're living in right now. Booking agents and venues, they want to see plays, they want to see people following you on, unfortunately, like Instagram at this point. Like we're kind of like we're like older Facebook people, we do really well there, but like we're trying to build up Facebook and Spotify and YouTube, and it just feels like such a hustle. Like you constantly have to be, come on guys, like follow us all over the place. But it's a movement to get us to a point where we don't have to do that as much. It's just like you have to kind of prove yourself in these weird ways, and you have to build all this content. You know, it's not in our, like every once in a while we just like organically want to create like a reel or something like that because we have something to put up, but you have to actively do things that you wouldn't normally do. And I feel in my personal opinion, I feel like it takes away a little bit of the time and the energy that you would normally put into your actual craft of, you know, arranging and writing songs and, you know, putting music out. You have to like also do all of this social media stuff, and you also have to do all this marketing stuff. And we're doing well right now as far as building a team that's helping us. Shay is a godsend and does so much for us. And we've got our manager, Ange, who's doing a lot of the back end admin work. We're working with Rockwood Booking. So like there's a lot of things that are like, but it's like one of those things where as things are being taken off our plate, the trajectory that we're on is creating more work. And so it's like no matter how much gets taken off of our plate, and then we're wanting to do the videos and we have to do the social media, and it's just like, it's crazy how much work there is to do aside from just making music.
Well, and it would be one thing if we had budget, like, okay, we can hire this video person and cut out everything, like, but we don't have a budget for that,
Right.
So we've got to do it in-house. And it's a ton of work. And then, something will pop up like High Sierra Festival contests and like, oh, okay, like now we've got to make this kind of format video, and
spend a lot of time
Yeah.
pumping that up and trying to get people
Yeah.
to vote for us and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's like, and then if we get it, we have to fly ourselves to California.
Is that still a thing that y'all were still trying to get folks to engage with that campaign? Is that still happening? I think I saw that the other day.
Yeah, it's until the 25th.
What do folks need to do?
Go to Instagram especially and find the High Sierra Music Festival page and find our video down there and give us some love,
comments, shares.
Yeah, all that
Cool,
stuff.
lots of
If
engagement.
you happen to be an
Yeah.
Instagram influencer, share it to hear 20,000 people on Instagram.
I don't even think Instagram works that way.
I don't know.
You can't
Yeah, you
share
can't- you
somebody
can, like,
else's
put something
video
on your
I don't
story.
know.
It's complicated. We're Luddite. I'm a Luddite at least. I don't know how that works.
I don't. It's a
Like-
miracle that I got any of this stuff to work. So.
Like I just want to rock. I want to play music.
But yes, go. Yeah, the High Sierra Music Festival page is where you can find that video if you want to help us out.
Well, folks, go help them. They deserve it. Absolutely. They work so hard. Help them.
Thank you.
Now, going back to the artwork, I noticed from the previous album and on this album, there's a black lab, and I suspect there's some lore around this, and I don't know what it is. I was wondering if you could enlighten me.
So Marrow, that's my dog Bo, who passed away a couple of years ago, and I wound up getting Sitka, who's the dog on the current album. She before Bowie passed away, and it was just black labs lab mixes find me, kind of thing, and so. With Marrow, it's like, okay, well, what if we have the dog with the bone? It's like stark image, and then we're talking about concepts for the Atomic album and how, the atomic age that we're living in is kind of one of those things where everybody's still existing under this continuous threat. I mean, they've got a bunch of freaking maniacs with their fingers right here on the button, and so it's just... But we're all just kind of like
Doing our thing.
yeah, and so like the imagery there with the dog with the ball, just like with the bomb exploding
Goggles,
in the goggles, like I don't know, we are all just kind of tossing it around, and if you listen to Mara, I don't know if anybody's noticed this yet, but the albums go wrap around on themselves, but they also are if you listen to the end of Marrow, it goes into the beginning of Atomic, so it was kind of a good
cool.
a little call out to that, as far as just evolutionary things. We've got the next dog, I think, for the next album, maybe we can call something towards that, but I don't know how to tie that in. It was just one of those things where we're talking about it and talking about that concept of everybody just kind of doing their thing, and we could all get blown away at any moment. So thought it would be kind of good way to point that out.
I like the artwork a lot. I think it's really cool. It's very striking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do y'all love the most about playing music with each other?
I love your songs. The tunes are just amazing, and I've always been like a huge. I mean, I'm a fan of songwriters, and Patty Griffin, John Prine.
Oh,
I mean, there's just
Mason
those
Jennings.
Mason Jennings, right? There's just like amazing songwriters, and I've been fortunate to like hang out and come up with, people like her and my
Holland
friend
Gamage.
Holland. Yeah, I mean, there's
Hope for Golden Summer.
incredible songs.
Daniel Howell.
And I absolutely love being a support musician, and so not having to be like the front person all the time. I can be like side guy and then like sing my songs too. So I love that about making music with Barb. So
Yeah, I don't know that I could do this with anybody else. I've thought about like who else would I be able to do this with, and it's so unique to find someone who I honestly, I listen to the record a lot, partly because I'm trying to drill these songs into my head so that it's just second nature and I can think about other stuff, like get the muscle memory going and think about connecting and stuff like that, get the dragon floating over us and whatever Grateful Dead shit we can go into. But like, I love her songs.
Yes.
in a deep way. Like I know her, and I still don't know what some of her songs mean or are about, but they're intriguing and deep and cool, and the changes. And she's taught me, because I've always been a functional poet, the guitar was always just a vehicle so that I didn't get beat up being like, you want to hear my poems? If you play it on guitar, all of a sudden you're cool. But I didn't know, I was playing cowboy chords and using capos all over the place when I met her, and I didn't know I couldn't even play a bar chord. Maybe an F, but like, she's pushed me and gotten me to an infinite direction into the music part that I would have never gotten to without her. And somehow playing together for as long as we have, like, I think there's definitely like an influence, like I think we've influenced each other, but it's still so starkly different. Like, people have come up and said, like, it's awesome to listen to you guys because it all makes sense and it all goes together. But like, despite obviously she sings her songs, I sing my songs, but you can tell it's a Barb song. You can tell it's an Ari song. There's still a distinction there. But it's grown into like that synthesis of the whole is more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I love, is that like when I write a song, even if I already like it comes out and I'm like, oh, this is a good one, I know that once I introduce it to her, she's going to add elements to it that are going to make it way better than it already is. And so that, just like that confidence in knowing that it's always going to be this awesome coming together. And I think it's taken a long time, but I think it's getting to the point where we're all able to do that. We're all able to contribute to building these songs up from the ground. Richie absolutely has added a huge element of flash and intensity. And Boudreaux just sits back there, and sometimes like you don't think anybody's in there. He's just like maybe singing Tool to himself or something, and all of a sudden he'll just be like, we should do it this way. And you're like, oh my God, we should totally do it that way. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So everybody contributes to making the music be what it is. And I just feel like as a band, we've grown so much, especially in the past 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched y'all grow. I mean, I remember I took refuge in Atlanta after Hurricane Michael in 2018, and I saw y'all at the Moon Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So to reflect back on those days, like watching y'all and old Matt Donald's farm and those folks, and projecting to now, it's like I'm just so proud of y'all and happy for y'all.
Thank you.
It's so obvious you've worked your asses off, and it looks like you're really headed for great things. I mean, I really could see a lot of your music, even would y'all ever be interested in doing sync opportunities? I could so see your music in a movie or something. Would that ever be something y'all would do?
Yeah, I think that our buddy BJ came a while ago to try to help me to organize that, and there's ways that you can pitch your music in that way, and I would love to follow up on that. and yeah, because I think that some of our stuff definitely has some very cinematic qualities to it, you know. So yeah, definitely would be down with that as an opportunity. So
Yeah.
and I mean, I feel like, you know, right now we've got definitely another album's worth of stuff, probably two. You know, and then I personally, there's waves, so I'll have like a creative wave and I'll get a few songs out of it, and then I, you know, work on the things, and then I'll get another wave of tunes, and so it's kind of a consistent thing that we're coming out with new tunes that we're excited about. So, you know, just being able to continue to progress and get as much as we can out of these tunes, you know. I didn't get into it for the money, but if I can squeeze a little bit out, that would be
It'd be really
cool
nice.
to pay the bills.
sweet,
So you
man.
can keep making art.
Yeah, yes.
It'd be nice if we could just make art.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Have either of y'all ever read the book The Artist's Way?
I have read a little bit of that. Shayna Blake is another person that's a great songwriter that I came up with, and she definitely she goes by that book for sure.
It's a powerful book.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yes, yeah. So
I use that morning pages technique, and I've gotten a lot of songs out of that.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just write free flow, right? For
You
like
just keep
however
that
long.
pencil moving, even if you just write, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, yeah,
And then something will eventually come, even if it's dumb.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the festival, since we're at the Florida Americana Music Festival. Have y'all been enjoying yourselves? You had a good time? Your show
yeah.
was great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I always love coming to this property, and yeah, it's beautiful. We got here, you know, a couple hours before our set, and caught the band before us. Sounded amazing.
Remedy Tree.
Yeah, they sounded
great.
so good. And JB, right?
JB Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter
He's great.
he's
Man, his
amazing.
sound.
He does such a good job.
He recorded the set last night, and as we were breaking down and the next band was setting up, he was playing it back through the house, and for a second he was playing American Dream, and I had to stop and really listen and be like, is he playing the album or is this from tonight? Holy crap, that sounds like the mix was so good.
Yeah.
And we use in-ears for monitors, and so we can't necessarily fully hear the house, but we do have a room mic that gives us a little bit of that, and maybe I had mine up a bit last night, but I could hear the effects that he was using and some of the stuff that he was doing. I was like, oh yeah, like, and that's so nice to have that on the road when you don't have your own guy. We've got Dylan Ast has been working with us as our sound guy when we can afford him. You know, when we've got a big enough show going on, we pull Dylan in. And he's done some stuff for us pro bono just to like kind of be at the party and get some experience with us. And he does such a great job, and we're a little bit spoiled. And so sometimes we're at a place and we don't have our sound guy, and we're at the mercy of, and everyone's doing their best, but like you get good ones and you get bad ones. And JB just slammed it last night. It was great.
It's always like
really nice.
Very cool too to like, he's like, man, I've been waiting to mix y'all, and I'm like, that is like the highest compliment.
Yes.
Anytime a sound guy is like, can I come run monitors for you? Like Bo he ran the dance tent at Swanee and stuff.
Yeah.
He hit us up when we were in Jacksonville, and it's just like, that's like one of my favorite parts about doing these festivals is like the production people, and especially down here, are on freaking point. They're so nice. Everybody's super helpful. Like, you know, it's really great working with organizations that they take that kind of thing into account, you know, having quality versus, you know, whatever else, like, because you can save a couple bucks, you know, and get
You get your pay for.
exactly. And that, so it's, you know, I think that speaks volumes to the organizations that are coming through here, and, you know, that they are hiring good, solid production, and that's huge for us, you know. And the bands, I mean, the bands are great. You know, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun hanging out. We didn't get to hang out last night, but I plan on doing some picking tonight.
Okay, maybe we can pick later.
Yeah, I
That'd
would
be
love that.
fun.
Yeah.
I got to see the lasers from both perspectives last night, which I considered a blessing to see them on the ground and on the stage.
Yeah.
The lasers were provided by some friends of yours. Tell me about
This
that.
Laser Fox.
Yeah, Laser Fox, and they came up and did lasers at our album release, and they work out of Tampa, St. Pete, so I think Sarasota. But yeah, they are incredible, and they were doing lasers at Whippersnap, Sunshine Get Down, and yeah, Cody just hit us up and offered to come out if we could hook him up and figure out something that would work. So it was really cool just to have that added bonus last minute lasers. Freaking lasers, man, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, so. But yeah, Laser Fox is an incredible addition to any show or festival. I mean, if you're looking for some lights that are going to blow it out of the water and just take it to that next level, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So,
You want to feel like a rock star?
yeah.
Get Laser Fox.
Yeah.
You've made it when you got lasers.
Yeah, man. Totally.
I'm going to tell everybody there were lasers.
Freaking lasers, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being on Sunshine State Showcase. Before we go, what's coming up on y'all's tour? What are the big events coming up for y'all? And what would y'all like to do goal-wise?
I'm not sure when this is going to air, but like I said, we're going to be in Alabama next weekend. We're playing Huntsville on the 25th at St. Stephen's Music Hall, and then the 26th we're playing at the Nick in Birmingham. But there's a drag show that goes till late, and then we start playing at like 12:30 or something. So it's like a late show in Birmingham. That'll be interesting. Let's see how it goes. I think that's our first time in Birmingham. So and we're
Have
playing.
y'all been to the Nick before?
I've been to the Nick. When I was I'm good friends with Sonia Lee, and I was down there for a show that she did there. And I think maybe when I was working for Michelle Malone, she played the Nick as well. Which it's having been there,
Right.
and knowing that there's a drag show there is interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe there was a Confederate flag behind the stage when I was there, but I think maybe things have changed. But so that's gonna be our first time in Birmingham, and then the next weekend we're gonna be at Swamp Town Get Down in Waycross, Georgia.
Cool.
Which is a great. It looks like a great lineup. I think Bonnie Blue. Maybe Firewater Tent Revival or some version of them. I think they're going to be down there too. Our buddy Todd Sargent's going to be there.
Yep.
Tire Fire.
Yeah.
It's a great lineup. I think it's kind of like this. It's a little bit smaller, more laid back. But it's our first time there. So
Yeah, and they've
I'm
been
excited
doing
for
it
that one.
for like a long time. They've been doing it for like 15 years or something.
Yeah.
So
Established.
it's an established. It's cool. Like, yeah, and Waycross, and then
After Waycross.
past that we're going up northeast.
We got Greer. We got Greer. We got
Oh,
Albino
yeah.
Skunk
That's
Albino
right.
Skunk Festival, which is May 8th, which is a Thursday we're playing. It's one of those weird ones that goes like Wednesday through Saturday, I believe. But that one's like Jim Lauderdale, Secret Sisters, Eddie 9-Volt.
Nice.
That's a thick. They've got a nice thick lineup up there. So we're playing, I think Thursday night around like maybe 7 or something like that, 6, 7. I'm sure it's on their website. And then that's our first time at that one. And then the next week we start moving north, I believe.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the northeast for Strange Creek, and
The week after that.
yeah,
My graduation party is at May 17th.
Yeah,
at
Barb's
Music on Main
graduating.
Street.
In graduate
I'm
school?
graduate. Nah, I wish it was graduate school. I'm not that smart. Not yet. No, I'm graduating. It's my undergraduate degree in philosophy from Georgia State. I just went back during COVID when there was nothing else to do. I was like, well, I'll finish my degree. I didn't know it was going to take me another 4 years. So here we are,
Congratulations.
5 years, whatever. But yeah, thank you.
That's
So we're
awesome.
doing a little celebration at Music on Main Street in Lilburn for that on May 17th, and then the week after that we're heading to Strange Creek in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Strange Creek is run by the folks who do Wormtown, and it's the same Wormtown that Ven's at Swanee. It's
Yeah,
the
they're
same-
here too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, perfect. I haven't wandered Vendor Row yet. But yeah, so Wormtown, we just went up and played their the one that they do in the fall, which is just called Wormtown, and that went really well. They're having us back up for Strange Creek. We're gonna spend some time up there hanging out, and then we play the next weekend at a private event, and I'm not sure exactly where it is. Maybe it's Western Massachusetts, but it's cool to be getting up into new territory, because up until, I don't know, like last year, the year before, we really hadn't gotten much further north than Tennessee. We hadn't even, I think, maybe gone past Alabama. So now we're starting to get into, like, we played Jack Pine in Wisconsin last year. We're getting up into Massachusetts now. We're playing Delaware and Maryland on the way up there. And so we're expanding, and hopefully we get this High Sierra thing.
That'd be nice.
And either way, we're probably going to start trying to push out west soon. That's, I think, the goal for
definitely,
like Colorado, California,
yeah,
maybe the Pacific Northwest. That's like,
I want to go to Japan.
yeah, just keep going.
That'd be
We'll just
really,
keep
really
going
cool.
west.
See all their cool tech.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, thank you so much for, giving me some of your time and being on Sunshine State Showcase. I'm always in y'all's corner. I just can't wait to see all the wonderful creative things you do, and I wish you all the best. And just to make sure there wasn't anything I missed, was there anything super pertinent you wanted to share?
I think we pretty much touched on it.
No, I would say just, if you have time, do all the things. Follow us on different social medias and YouTube and all that stuff, and keep up with us. We've got a newsletter that you can sign up for at the ain'tsisters.com. I try to keep updating it. That's one of those million things we got to do. So I send them out maybe once a month. But yeah, just I hope if you see us out there, come up and say hey and give us a hug, and that's it. I think.
Well, that's a great call to action. Well done.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. You've heard them. Make sure you check out their album Atomic, and keep an eye out for when that'll be available on vinyl, and also check out all the other formats that it's available in right now. Until next time, take it easy, but take it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Sunshine State Showcase, and thank you so much to Ari and Barb of the Ain't Sisters for being on the show and sharing your story, your creative process, and what you got coming up ahead. I am so excited to see what you do. And folks, don't forget to grab their album Atomic from their website, ain'tsisters.com. I'll have all the information down in the show notes. And I'd also like to say thank you so much to the Florida Americana Music Festival for putting on such a great event, having me play, having me come do my podcast. I absolutely had a wonderful time doing all the interviews, and there is more to come. Coming up, we've got Rachel Grubb. She will be on the next episode of Sunshine State Showcase. She is a fantastic Florida songwriter. She's got a gorgeous voice, and I just love her songs, and I know you will too, and I know you'll love hearing her story. Well, folks, if you're not already, make sure you follow me on YouTube, as well as Spotify, Apple, Facebook, and Instagram, and ashleyfellermusic.com. I'll have an official website up for ADF Media, and you'll be able to follow more on the podcast there as well. Well, until next time, take it easy, but take it.